All right, let's jump right into this explainer and untangle the massive interwoven plot lines of the acclaimed thriller series Stranger. It truly is a masterclass in tension, taking us deep into the labyrinthine heart of South Korea's justice system.
Think about it. How does a prosecutor who literally cannot feel empathy dismantle a system built on greed and loyalty? This central mystery immediately anchors our journey through 2 intense seasons of institutional corruption and cover-ups. We aren't just looking at a simple whodunit plot here, we're examining the very fabric of how absolute power fiercely protects itself.
Part 1. The Empathy-Free Investigator. Part 2. Season 1. The Serial Murders.
So, the story kicks off with what looks like a run-of-the-mill murder framed as a robbery. But man, it spirals out of control fast. Prosecutor Hwang Si-mok, whose abnormal brain development actually stripped him of empathy, investigates the crime scene only to find his prime person of interest murdered. He eventually catches a suspect who vehemently pleads not guilty. But despite Si-mok's hesitations, his ambitious colleague, Young In-soo, pushes hard for a murder conviction. And when that convicted, innocent man commits suicide to prove his innocence, the public outrage is explosive. That suicide is the first falling domino. It leads to a brutal assault on an underage escort named Kwon Min-ah, whose real name is actually Kim Ga-young, and the violence eventually hits agonizingly close to home with the shocking murder of prosecutor In-soo right in their inner circle. Partnering with the fiercely dedicated police lieutenant Han Yeo-jin, Si-mok realizes every single plot point just peels back another dark layer of rot within the prosecutor's office.
Part 3, Season 1, Exposing the Monster. To untangle this absolute mess of a plot, Si-mok's boss, Lee Chung-jun, makes a brilliant narrative move. He essentially gives Si-mok the keys to investigate their own people. Si-mok brings in trusted colleagues, including Yeo-jin and prosecutor Yoon Se-won, to methodically peel back the layers of deceit. Notice the progression of their task force here. Step 1, they boldly probe their constantly shifting, corrupt colleague, Seo Dong-jae. Step 2, they actually manage to indict Police Chief Woo Gyun, igniting this fierce interagency warfare. And finally, Step 3, deducing info from secretly recorded conversations, they leak an anomalous weaponry sale straight to the press. This massive leak forces the prosecutor's office to panic and disband the task force, leading to this incredibly dramatic standoff, where the team literally barricades themselves in their office. It's wildly tense.
Look at how these shifting allegiances play out in the narrative, leading to truly devastating ends. Un-soo, desperate to clear her father's name, is tragically murdered by Yoon Se-won, and remember, he was a trusted member of Si-mok's own task force. Dong-jae, who is always playing both sides, actually survives, apologizes, and ironically ends up replacing Si-mok. But the absolute shocker of the season, Lee Chang-jun. The man who started as deputy chief commits suicide, but before he dies, he leaves behind a crucial bag of evidence. It's revealed that he was the mastermind, orchestrating the entire conspiracy to expose the very corrupt system he had successfully climbed to the top of. A monster driven by his own principle. Si-mok chillingly characterizes his former boss with this exact phrase on a live television broadcast, perfectly capping off the tragic first act. Chang-jun truly believed he had to become a monster to slay the beast of systemic corruption. He used Si-mok as his sharpened blade, sacrificing himself to ensure the truth came to light. Fast forward exactly 2 years, the narrative clock resets. Si-mok is transferred to Tongyang and immediately stumbles upon a highly suspicious drowning incident. On a foggy night, he notices a removed restricted fence at a beach where 2 bodies are later found. The sole prosecutor's office quickly closes it as a non-suspicious disposition, but Si-mok's razor-sharp instincts tell him otherwise. He lodges a formal complaint to reopen it. The game is officially back on.
Part 4. Season 2. Institutional Turf War.
If the plot of Season 1 was a hunt for a serial killer hiding behind a conspiracy, Season 2 spirals into a straight-up bureaucratic bloodbath. The prosecution, led by the imposing Woo Tae-ha, clashes directly with the police, commanded by the fierce Choi Bit. They're forced to convene a joint police prosecution council to debate investigative authority, but honestly, it's a complete facade. Behind closed doors, both leaders are actively orchestrating massive cover-ups to maintain their grip on power and utterly destroy the other side's public image.
Part 5. Season 2. The Abducted Colleague. Mid-season, the plot tension absolutely explodes when prosecutor Seo Dong-jae simply vanishes while out investigating, leaving behind a highly taunting message for the public. Si-mok and Yeo-jin have to put aside the turf war and work together to trace his last steps. Why was he taken? Well, Dong-jae was probing into seemingly isolated events, a suicide at the Seguk police station, the mysterious death of a former prosecutor, and the powerful Hanjo Group's corporate drama, which is now run by Chung Jun's widow, Yan-jae. Add in a fake eyewitness pointing the finger at the police, and his disappearance proves all these plotlines are completely interconnected pieces of a massive historical cover-up. It all points right back to the leaders of both agencies, Woo Tae-ha and Choi Bit, who share an incredibly dark secret.
And the way this plot escalates, it literally captivated audiences. South Korean viewership surged well over 2 million as the intricate conspiracy finally unraveled in the frantic final episodes. The suspense of finding Dong-jae, combined with the horrifying realization that the heads of both the police and prosecution were actively working together to suppress the truth, kept everyone entirely glued to their screens. Part 6. The Price of Justice.
The climax of this dual-act thriller brings some severe, real-world consequences. Defying active threats from their own superiors, Si-mok and Yeo-in bravely push forward and file formal investigation warrants to officially bring their corrupt bosses down. But exposing the truth comes at a devastating cost. Choi Bit is forced into a highly public resignation, and Woo Tae-ha faces a brutal criminal trial. CEO Yan-jae is backed into a corner, forced to choose between her massive company or her late husband's legacy. And as punishment for their insubordination, Si-mok and Yeo-in's special units are completely disbanded. Yeo-in is moved to intelligence, and Si-mok is exiled to Wonju. Absolute justice is served, yeah, but at a massive personal cost.
So, as Si-mok and Yeo-jin are quietly shipped off to new outposts, it begs the question, what hidden monsters will they have to dismantle next in a system that never stops fighting back? Leaving us with this final thought, we're reminded that in the world of Stranger, the fight for justice is a relentless, never-ending pursuit. The players at the top might change, but the systemic greed remains. I hope this explainer gave you a much deeper appreciation for the brilliantly interwoven plot of this incredible series. Thank you so much for joining me, and stay curious out there.